Hello everyone, welcome to the class. Before we get to the actual class, I want to ask you a question. How many of you have watched the movie Avatar 2, The Way of Water? Okay, some of you. So for some of you who have not watched it, I'm going to show you a 20-second trailer about this movie. So don't worry, I'm not spoiling anything. And then I'll ask you a question based on that. So the question is, why are Na'vi in a water village good at free diving? Anybody know the answer?
I'm guessing it's because their lungs are good at holding breath.
Lungs are good at holding breath. What else?
I've watched the movie, so I know that they live close by the water. So I guess that's probably why they practice a lot.
Very great. So if you were asking me, I would say because they have a good dive reflex. So dive reflex, this is what we're going to talk about today. It's also called mammalian dive reflex. So it's first found in seals. It's a physiological response that's built in our nature. It's very important because it could help us from drowning. Also, it could elongate the time for us underwater. So the laboratory has repeated this phenomena and found that once you immerse the body into the cold water, essentially your face in the cold water, it could trigger this dive reflex. So they have two main characteristics. One is bradycardia. The other one is peripheral vasoconstriction. So bradycardia, it means your heart is getting slower. So it refers to the idea that when you hold your breathing, your heart rate drops. All the better to conserve oxygen. The other one, the peripheral vasoconstriction, it means blood shifting. So blood shifts from your arms, your legs, hands, or feet to your core of the body, which is your brain, your heart, to make sure that oxygen goes to the main part of the body to reserve the energy. So with this part, the vital organs prioritized. So some of you may want to ask, why this is happening? So what kind of physiological response is responsible for this, which triggered that? So it could be due to the brain, right? We had last class talking about the brain anatomy as well as the brain function for different regions. So brain is our commander. So basically every command comes from the brain. So I want you to think about that. Which brain region triggers this dive reflex? And how does this trigger? I'll give you a minute or two to think about by yourself. Before we get to the answer, I want to ask, what's the level of confidence? For example, if you are very confident, I mean it, I get it, this answer, please raise your hand. All right. If you feel like, maybe I got this, I don't know, please raise your hand. Okay, I see someone. All right. Maybe I should give you few more minutes to discuss with your groups. So we have different groups here. Make sure that you explain the reason why you think so, and also make sure you do participate in the discussion. Give everybody the chance to talk about it. I've learned a lot from the discussion I joined in some of your group. Why not we have someone to share with all of us? Maybe group 5, could you tell us what you were discussing?
Sure. So the picture makes it pretty clear that this is related to holding breath and cold temperature. So we are guessing maybe it's related to brainstem based on what we have seen in the previous slides, because brainstem is part which controls thermoregulation and respiratory function. Maybe it could be through somewhere in the brainstem that triggered the autonomic nervous system to control heartbeat.
Very well, thanks for sharing. I can understand the logic behind your answer. You're thinking about the picture hints that the cold water and breath holding are the two clues that triggers the dive reflex. And brainstem also controls both. And then you think brainstem is the region that would trigger dive reflex. I would say very close. Thanks for your answer. So, because brainstem is the bigger region, it has a lot of different small parts. The one I want you guys to remember is called medulla oblongata, which also shows in this scheme. So this is basically what shows you once the temperature change in your face could trigger that the trigeminal nerve temperature receptor be responded. So this information has been transmitted to the trigeminal sensory nucleus, which is located in the pons, and then later on passed down to medulla. Medulla oblongata is the region that the student mentioned. It has these two parts core center, both respiratory and cardiovascular center. And then later on, it's through vagus nerve, it transmits down to like the heart, the lungs, also to cause the vasoconstriction. Very good for the answer. So this scheme shows you the basic knowledge behind it. But next, I want to show you some actual results, actual data for this heart rate beating test. The same picture shows we've asked the student to put their face into the water, and we measured their ECG, also the pulse, as well as the respiratory, use the respiratory band in the chest. So you can see we have two figures here. The top one is the baseline that shows you before you put the face into the water. And the next one is the dive reflex while the face is immersed in the water. So I marked two blocks here that shows you before the dive reflex, the heart beating is 78 beats per minute. And then once this gets to the dive reflex, maybe I would say 30 seconds after that, it drops to 66 beats per minute. So apparently it drops, which assured that the dive reflex existing in the student. But what's interesting is the next slide, because maybe some of you already noticed the part right after the face immersed into the water, the heartbeat actually increased. Also, I calculated as this heart rate increased from 78 to 84 beats per minute. So this is interesting. That's why I want to ask you, why was there a transient increase in heart rate at the beginning of the dive? Anybody know the answer?
I'm just
raise your
thinking
hand.
maybe it's the sudden change in the surrounding environment, such as temperature, and that has caused emotional stress and then the heartbeat rate.
I would say really good answer. You think the temperature change which will cause emotional change? Something involved in the brain. That's great. I could answer something else, because the first one is basically what he answers, but it got the shock for the cold water on the face, like the different changes, surrounding environmental changes. I would say because, you know, every diver, I think before they go to the sea, the ocean, they could probably try to inhale as much as air as possible, so to get a very full lung capacity. And then the inspiration right before getting to dive, like inspiration here could cause something, like the respiratory control is also changed, right? So this is the phenomena why it has its transient increase. But next, I want you to know what is the brain function behind it. So it goes to our assignment today. Which brain region triggers the transient heart rate increase? And I want to ask you the reason behind it. And so please finish this assignment before the class next week. And please submit it into Canvas so we can share with everybody to discuss what is the exact region behind it. All right, thanks for coming to the class. See you next week.